Welcome to a new episode of our podcast, Lead the Future, Change the Conversation, an unedited, honest conversation to create the future. My name is Arjan Visser, I'm Futurist and your host, and join me as I chat with my friend Pieter Dekker on leadership, future, and peers. Pieter is the founder of Water House Peacemaking, a water engineer by training and a futurizing connector by trade. Pieter addresses worldwide water challenges, collaborating with governments, businesses, NGOs, investors to actually bring harmony and prosperity to the world. Now, that's the first thing. I'm not going to edit. Pieter, thank you
Thanks for
for
having me,
being
Arjan.
back.
It was a mouthful, right?
It's a mouthful, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Good
I
to be
was
here.
thinking, do I introduce to you in a shorter version? But I got to know you, I think it is nearly a decade ago. Time flies. But I've got to know you over that decade as someone who is really conscious, independent thinker, and and takes the hard choices when they need to be made. And I've seen you being prepared actually for this big introduction. It's what you live, you know, connecting people of all kinds of backgrounds, bring them together, find harmony in both the problem and the solution, and then tackling water challenges. It's a big thing that's on your plate. So I'm really happy you had time to join the podcast
Yeah.
and talk about self-leadership.
Well, thanks for having me. Look forward to the conversation. It's always fun.
Yeah, that's what people always say. It's always fun. It's fun when it's over. Well, so just an uncomfortable question, actually. And it's the question that keeps coming back in the podcast. Is I speak with people who have quite some foresight for their future, a future perspective, a vision that's quite radical, big, and not necessarily detailed, but they want to be intentional with how they spend their time, their energy. At the other end, there's daily life, daily operations, life at home, all those things that scream for our attention. So that in generally gives attention, and there's so much wisdom in understanding from others how to deal with that tension and how real that tension is in their life. So my question to you is, how do you deal with that tension about having an enormous perspective for tomorrow, a young family, your own business, and all the peers around you? How do you deal with
Yeah.
that tension?
Yeah. Good question. So some of the things that have struck me is that um, um, at some point I learned there's windows of opportunity, I think, for each and every one of us to really influence, shape, and maybe shift some of the future. And really, yeah, get us in a new trajectory or a better trajectory in world history. And but that's really like you were born for such a time as this, so you need to believe that you're in the right timing, that the world really needs you, and that's not just like only your cognitive stuff, but it also needs your heart, your desires, and what you want to contribute, and what you want to leave behind. And over the past few years, I've become more and more aware that it's actually about loving people well. So it's really about, okay, how can I add value to others, um, um, in the best way possible.
Mm.
And so being prepared for that is this, like, I mean, you can do that today, right? You can love someone today. You can love someone tomorrow. So I think if that's the heart's attitude that's behind what you're trying to achieve and the impact you're and influence you're trying to have, that's a good starting point. What I've also seen is that the way I'm preparing myself is um, by having my inner self guide me. So I try to be in tune with my desires, my emotions, and my thought processes. Sometimes I've some weird thoughts just popping into my mind, and I give them attention because um, I've learned to be in tune with them. I also have learned to not always listen to them in the sense that they're always right, but they're telling something that is going on either inside of you or inside of your surroundings that need to be addressed. And so one of the things is that I mean, I can talk a lot about this, right? So if you want to ask questions, please do. Um, but so about being prepared, it's about being following your heart, I would say, in that sense, and your inner voice, as you call it, oftentimes. Um, and what I've seen through that is that if I do that, and when I do that, over time, it starts to make sense why you're doing it. But in the moment, oftentimes you cannot rationalize or just give good reason why you're doing this. Or the reason you're coming up with is very different than what you're seeing like maybe 5 years into the futures.
Yes.
So I've really learned that all the maybe small bits that are not connected to my in my way of thinking or viewing it, at some point they're merging, and I'm like, wait, this is actually what I was doing it for. This is beautiful. And
Yeah.
the way to prepare it for the future is to keep doing that thing and trusting that it will lead to um, convergence or joining together. Yeah.
I hear a lot of things. If I can reflect on all of them, I do my best. But you started with like you can. It's about loving people. You can love them today. You can love them tomorrow. That state of heart is not going to change when we talk about the now, the moment, and we talk about tomorrow, the future. At the other end, you also are in tune by what you sense, and in a way, you have found a modus to actually make that leading above your rational thinking, and out of that, from the inside out, you make choices in the moment that are still valid for tomorrow, for the future. So you are living from tomorrow.
Yeah.
Uh, if I just play with words,
Yeah.
in the moment, which feels probably weird, but you probably got used to that. It feels weird and it risky, but you also say that you found out that through the years, all those things that seem huge and big somewhere merged or converged to being smaller, less relevant. Actually, they're I would say they're repositioned to a position of relevance um, for tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I heard you say.
Yeah. Yeah. And be, because I've learned it and seen it and experienced it, I really value my own um, heart's desires, not just that it's focused on me and myself in that sense, but really, oh, this is something I want to pursue or maybe dive deeper in. I want to learn more here or be more exposed in this area. I don't know where it leads to, but I've had enough of these experiences that I actually trust these feelings and emotions and this inner voice. I'm like, okay, it's worth pursuing. I'm not sure for how long, but I've also seen that oftentimes it doesn't take years. It's just a couple of weeks, months, or maybe a year. But then something else will come up. and then you start to see a thread that you can that's going through it.
Yeah. I hear so many people who don't allow themselves. One, because they are told they cannot trust themselves. And the other, actually both are like, because the external pressure of that it can't lead to anything good. But your first answer was you started with loving others and now pursuing your heart's desires. That's framed actually in loving others.
Mm-hmm.
So based on that perspective, I hear it's not risk taking, but it's you trust yourself that they're worth to pursue, they will be fulfilled, or they will create the environment to learn what's essential for the next step.
Yeah.
Does that also mean that with hindsight, how they work out is different than you expected up front?
Always.
Always. There's no doubt that not sometimes it's different,
I mean,
always.
you can make something up, right? You can visualize a lot of things. No, so okay, it's not really true. I've visualized things, or I've had dreams about things that have actually come to pass, but these were weird dreams or weird visualizations. So I didn't, I they they weren't. I knew I had to. It was like valuable, or it had value, but I couldn't really wrap my head around what was going on. So I just parked them somewhere. I wrote them down, and then in hindsight, I knew, okay, that was that thing. Yeah. What I also wanted to say is that it's super, like, you don't start with just loving others, right? And trusting your own senses and emotions. Because, yes, like you said, you have to trust yourself. So then the question is, do you actually believe about yourself that you are good, like intrinsically good, or are you lacking something that still needs to be fixed somehow? Because otherwise, you'll be pursuing that thing that needs to be fixed before you're doing other things, right? Or you're always doing things. Maybe you're doing the right thing, but then you're still compensating for something else.
Yeah. So how do you learn?
How do you
Yes.
learn?
Funny joke in my head. Like if someone makes good coffee, if the meat from the grill is good and juicy, and you see them how they love their family, then everything is okay. But I think there was much more at hand for you to actually learn, accept, acknowledge that there is something intrinsically good in you that is worth to unfold,
Open up, yeah.
open up. And with the unfolding, I think of something that seems small, but it's ongoing unfolding, and it becomes
Yeah.
bigger and bigger, right? And that fullness and that richness that is actually being accessible is good. But you said something, and I just follow my gut feeling here. You said something. Oh, what was it? Oh, now it slipped out of my mind. So it's still in my gut somewhere.
It's okay.
It will come back. It will come back. What was it? I can't stand this. That's it. It's not in my mind. Like you, with hindsight, you value your process, and you resist to rationalize things with hindsight.
Yes. I don't need
And
to have an answer for all of it. Yeah.
yeah, and it is. Maybe it's human behavior, but it is so easy to rationalize it, summarize it, explain it, and actually kill the mystery.
Yeah.
And believe that if you keep the mystery with hindsight and understanding inside, you keep the mystery alive, then next time there is this bandwidth that is different again, but you can feel that you can trust it because last time you had the same feeling. You've learned to recognize the feeling. I don't need to understand right now. What I need to understand, I will receive in hindsight.
Yeah.
It sounds fluffy,
Yeah.
but it's not fluffy. It's the
It's
lifeline
yeah.
of,
This is the most practical you can make it, right? I think what I wanted to add here is that in that opening up, or becoming more aware of who you are and your potential, and trying to explore that more, and giving more, yeah, maybe opening up. There is always a tendency to rush that, to speed it up, to go faster, right? But what I've really learned is that that makes it so frustrating because it has its own timeline, and I mean, you
yeah,
can do things to slow it down, but there's not much things I think you can do to speed it up. And the only way you want to speed it up is by really rationalizing it and taking quicker steps. But they're not really helping. They're only slowing you down more.
oh, yeah, that's a good one. If you rush it up, you will create shortcuts. And we know one thing for the future: there are no shortcuts. All the shortcuts are from the past. So
Yeah.
you miss the opportunity by the shortcuts. But at the
Yeah.
other end, there is acceleration, and that acceleration that connects to the nuggets you already shared. I'm not going to repeat them for third time, but that accelerates you. I got to know you as an accelerator because you sense the mystery to embrace, and by embracing it and trusting yourself, trusting your previous experiences, the
Yeah.
visualization process, and not designing it in your head so it doesn't fit the design. No, but you accelerate, and with hindsight, it comes together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that save you from being frustrated? If you, I know that's an unfair question because we are all frustrated somewhere,
Yeah.
and we all are hungry for more of that perspective. But can you push the frustration aside in this process, or is that a fight, a struggle?
I would say you can feed that frustration by becoming more frustrated and just having bad language and all kinds of things and talking bad about yourself or your circumstances, but it's not really helping you. The things that are helping is looking back at how things have been going and how good things have been, and being thankful for every step and everything that you like have had there and have achieved. That's super valuable. I think that's one of
Yeah.
the highways in that sense. Uh, and just processing stuff with people around you. I mean, they need to be mature, right? To get the stuff, but um,
And
it's an
with
outlet
mature,
for.
what do you mean with mature? You mean ahead in the personal process, or ahead in the journey, which I
Well,
can't imagine.
sometimes like so both help. So people that are ahead of you in their journey, to process things with them, that creates a lot more understanding. And most of the times when I'm doing that, I hear, Peter, you're doing really well. Don't rush it. You're doing great. It's gonna be all right. And having that state of mind, then it also gets out of tension out of your body, and that's yeah. So that's one part. And having people of your same like out peers around to process things with, like, okay, how do you do this in this situation, or when you're raising young kids and having a business and want to be involved in community life. um, yeah, like, how do you do all these things and still have a very big vision and ambitions, but at the same time just playing around with your kids for a whole day, and I mean, not seeing any of that future come to pass in that sense, right? So you have to, I think, also let go in a sense of like to rationalize it, and then just to share that with people.
Mm,
I think that reduces the frustration.
yeah. And what you said already, connect with people that are ahead in their journey.
Hmm.
And just for the listeners to understand, that doesn't mean they walk the same walk the same way.
Exactly, because the whole thing is you don't want to copy people.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
can learn from them, but
Yeah.
you don't want to be where they are.
Yeah.
I have no desire to be in your place, Arjan, for example, or like, even though it's admirable, but I know that I, uh, what my vision that I have, I don't want to be in your shoes, because then I won't be fulfilling my mission, so to say, right?
Yeah.
And you have the same thing. So don't copy people in that sense. Don't, but really try to learn from their experience and see, okay, how would this apply to my situation and in my circumstances, and
Yeah.
maybe my frame of mind,
Yeah.
and also
I think
be
I
like,
think that
surround
is,
you with people that think big in that sense and don't try to hold you down and continue to a certain level. Like, if they don't think and dream as big about you as you are, then you should not be have them to involved in your life. And also, like, if they, like, yeah, they should need to be bigger dreamers about you than you are about yourself.
I love that. I love that. Also to wrap it up, because there's so much to process. But I think you've given the right qualifiers for uh, having coaches in your life. You want coaches with authority gained through personal experience. You want to see how they have grown through the choices they made in their journey. Um, and you learn from it. But I also hear that provides a level of peace and rest, and not to worry, and trust that you're in a good place, although you can't oversee it right now. Instead of actually what we tend to call mentors that teach you a process, a format uh, to follow. Now, there's a season for that as well. But as a pioneer, you've qualified really well what you need around you. People from different stages in their journey, different age, and at the same peers around you that have a bigger perspective than most, and definitely not smaller than yours. So in a way, you can pull yourself up. Of I have permission to dream bigger,
Yeah, yeah,
and I have permission not to understand, and I have permission to ignore that I lack understanding for now. But
yeah,
also, you have the personal track record. It will come,
yeah,
and it has done you good in the past, and it will do you good in the
yeah.
future.
And to be also very clear, this process is going to feel lonely and, like, for long stretches, right?
Yeah,
Um, so don't let your feeling of loneliness guide your decisions in terms of like trying to come back into the fold and just
oh yeah,
maybe lower your expectations or lower your whatever, right?
yeah,
Because that's not going to help you. It's not going to help anyone.
oh yeah,
But you have to deal with it, and I mean, that's why I like what you're doing with the mastermind and the coaching. I mean, that's super helpful just to address those feelings of loneliness because you have to deal with it, but deal with them with the right people that can actually handle your perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a duality. It's like the feeling of loneliness can be a trigger to actually be satisfied with less.
Yeah.
And that is just wrong with 5 big capital letters.
Yeah.
The trigger of being lonely also could lead you to connect with others that are on the same journey, personally in the same journey, in the same development state. And that doesn't make you to become a group, but you have all the good things of a group: the encouragement, the interest, the celebration, the pushback if you tend to go off track. And that is, you don't want to miss out on that one. So yes, it's your summit and you have to climb it alone, but next to you is someone else climbing their summit, and you can learn and help and support each other.
Yeah.
And that is actually bringing life in your journey. So thank you for all the answers, and I just invite everyone listening, connect. Use the link in the description, businessrevivalist.com/coach, if you want to just talk about what that could mean for you. This is just a link for a conversation. We could talk about coaching, we could talk about loneliness, we could talk about peers and masterminds, or the development, or just reflect on your stage. But it is an invitation, so there is actually no excuse to stay out there alone. Although you're maybe surrounded by a huge group of people you're responsible for, you still can be lonely because they are involved in your day-to-day things, and you have that tension with your future perspective. So don't miss out. Just grab this opportunity and connect. And if you want to connect to Pieter, you can do that through LinkedIn or just the same link, and I'll pass it on. So Pieter, thank you for your time.
You're so welcome. It was fun to be here.
It is, and you've set some expectation. No, that's the wrong word. Excitement and anticipation for what you are about. We're definitely going to talk more about it in future podcasts. But for now, I want to thank you, and have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Have a great weekend. See ya.